Well, the league started off great. All right. Got a mulligan this one. All right. I suppose this hand is much better. I'm gonna put that on the bottom. So I just played against Blue Red Drake and I didn't record it because game one uh my opponent mulliganed to five and then scooped a few turns later, and game two well, they kept a one land hand and then they scooped a few turns later. And then game two, they went turn three Gorilla Shaman, killed both my lands. I Galvanic blasted it, but then I was stuck with a hand of blue cards when I only had green and red mana, and they comboed off. And then did they combo off? Oh, no, I don't think they comboed off. They just played some. They drew a bunch of cards. And then game three, they went turn two Gorilla Shaman, and I didn't have any red mana in my hand, so I just conceded because I just didn't feel like playing. Now I didn't lose to Blue Red Drake. I lost to Gorilla Shaman, which you know, Gorilla Shaman. I forgot how much of a pain in the butt it can be to lose to, but yeah, man, it does not feel good. But then again, the decks that get to play it, I mean, without it, they'd have terrible affinity matchups. So it's kind of the damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing in Magic. All right. Oh, playing against Infect, cool. Uh, oh, actually, I think this is the person where that whole Infect thing happened against me. Um, where what was it? Where I was playing the mono green Infect deck against the blue green Infect deck, and the my opponent. Yeah, so my opponent blocks with the Blight Mamba. It's a 1/1. I have a Blight Mamba attacking that has 11 power, and it has Trample. My opponent's at no poison, and for some reason, Magic Online decided that the recommended play for me was to deal 2 to the Blight Mamba and 9 to my opponent while they had no poison. I even watched the replay and they had no poison. That's pretty good. I'm gonna play the Carapace Forger in case I need to block. I think that's just better. They had no poison. I thought that was the funniest thing. Yeah. This was the person that it happened with. It was pretty funny. So game one against Infect is terrible for you because you can't really stop them from what they're doing. You really need a Galvanic Blast if you're going to beat them. I think my best line here is to block this Glistener Elf and hope that they don't have any pump spells for it, or just hope they don't use any pump spells on it. Alrighty. A Fling. Well, okay. To be fair, that would have been better now, but I don't think I could have known that I was going to draw Fling. I'm doing this in case I draw a Disciple of the Vault. If I draw a Galvanic Blast, I'll kick myself, and it didn't really make a difference. So, if my opponent has 2 pump spells or any +4 pump spell, I lose. I suppose I'd be at 4 poison now, and I'd be pretty dead either way. Alright, so I'm going to 7. If they have nothing in hand, I get to live if I draw something. Hello? Alright. Thoughtcast. Alright. I'll go Thoughtcast instead of Prophetic Prism, because I can cast all my creatures. Alright. So I'll go Carapace Forger. So if my opponent has nothing, I get to live for this turn. And if my opponent has anything that pumps a creature, I die. Because life. Afterboard is really where you shine, because you get to bring in standard bearers, so. Oh, okay. Dead. Alright, so you bring Kark Clan Shaman. Am I saying that right? Kark Clan Shaman? Whatever. And Standard Bearer. Cards that are not great in this matchup are really, like, you just don't need your deck to be that slow. Like, once you go Standard Bearer, if they can't answer it, you really can't lose anymore. You could bring in Pyroblast or Duress, but I would not recommend it. Duress, you're not really going to hit enough stuff. So this is another matchup where Frogmite doesn't really shine. I'm going to take out two of them. I'm going to take out a Disciple and a Tog for because I'm bringing some more colored shenanigans. And I guess you can go down to one Frogmite. Like, Frogmite just doesn't shine as a 2-2 against a lot of decks, is the problem. Alright, so we're going to keep this hand. We have a Galvanic Blast for turn 1. We have Prophetic Prism next turn, and then we get to cast Standard Bearer with Springleaf Drum to be able to do anything. If my opponent does go turn 1 Glistener Elf, I might not Galvanic Blast it, because I don't want Mutagenic Growth to blow me out. Alright, well we drew a Frogmite, so that's different. So now we get to go Springleaf Drum into Frogmite and hold up the Galvanic Blast, which is good. Hopefully my opponent doesn't have I don't know, something. Well, here's Natural State, or Nature's Claim, I should say. Nature's Claim on my Great Furnace. Would not have done that. Would have hit the Springleaf Drum. There's no point in really hitting the Great Furnace because Springleaf Drum just turns on all of my pump spell. All of my spells. So I wouldn't even hit the mana there. And here... So I could Galvanic Blast the Ichor Mirror, but the reason I don't want to do that is because you want to save it for Blighted Agent. So I think you're better off not doing that. It's not like you can really block Ichor Mirror easily either, though. But, you know. I think I'd still rather save the Galvanic Blast for a little later. And we'll see what happens. Alright. My opponent thought for a bit about something. I'm not quite sure what. Gonna play the Tree of Tails here, I think. Just to not expose the Sea of the Synod for whatever reason. And we'll go white. And green. And Standard Bearer. I said Standard Bearer. Thank you. Now, if my opponent does have Gut Shot, or Hornet Sting, that's going to suck. And then the correct play was to Galvanic Blast the Ichor Mirror. But I still stand behind me not killing it with the Galvanic Blast, because if this little bastard gets to, excuse my language, gets to live, then killing this would be obviously much better. Because I literally can't beat that card. Unless I Galvanic Blast it or Karklan Shaman it. Well, there's the win condition. So, here I'm going to attack for 2. First I'll play Prophetic Prism to see what I get. Now, you would also be saying, well, Karklan Shaman and Standard Bearer, they don't go well together whatsoever. The thing about Karklan Shaman is it's just like playing Standard Bearer answer kind of, 4 through 5 in that sense. That's really all it's there to do. It's just there as a backup to Standard Bearer not coming down quick enough. That is literally all it is. I think my opponent might be double queuing. So I could keep up Galvanic Blast here on the off chance that my opponent doesn't have Gut Shot, or Hornet Sting, but then why the hell would they let me untap and not kill it, Unless they're just really next leveling me, which, well, if that's the case, I got next level, then there's not much I can do about it. Get an attack with Frogmite, not blocking. Yeah, take that too from the little Frogazoid. Frogazoid? What's wrong with me? Oh god, does he have another one? Oh, okay. Well, I guess the Tog's never getting in anymore. Yes, well, I'm not blocking the Ichor Mirror right now. I don't really want to. Okay, now I wish I kind of did. So, do I win this turn? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 12 plus 4, that's 16. If I draw another one, I win the game. So let's go Ichor Wellspring. See what I draw. Unless my opponent has Fog, which, I guess I should just play around. I guess I could just play around my opponent having fog. So... They don't really have fog, do they? Come on. Why would they have fog in their deck? I mean, I'm sure they have fogs, but why would they have fog in their hand? I just really want to win this turn. That's really what this is. Alright. I think I'll just play the other Atog, and I'll say go for now. And then see what I draw next turn. And try to play around fog. Not gonna kill the Blighted Agent because I don't really need to anymore for the time being. Okay, now maybe I need to. Opponents on the heavy creature draw. They could also have Apostle's Blessing, which is another thing. Apostle's Blessing doesn't get stopped by Standard Bearer because of the fact that... Alright, I'm gonna hit this Blighted Agent because it targets a creature you control, so... Okay, drew Prism. Let's see what I get. Drew a Thoughtcast. Okay, okay. To another Ichor Wellspring. Alright. Let's go Drum into... What? Oh, whoops. To second Ichor Wellspring. Drew a land. Okay. So... Let's go ahead and... screw it. Just attack. I could have sacked there to possibly play Disciple of the Vault if I drew it. But I... Alright. Is this my opponent conceding? Okay. So yeah, they're just conceding. I mean, I think I was justified to play around Fog there, but... You know. I still do. I don't know what it is, man. I get so scared when I see my opponent have one green up, because I just know that every green deck in Pauper plays Fog, you know? So I don't think there's a reason to really change anything. I think you just go back into it. I think that's all it is. Just go right back in. This hand's not bad. It just doesn't have a Standard Bear in it, which sucks. But I don't think it's mulliganable. I think mulliganing to... Wow, okay. I think going mulligan into, whatchamacallit? The hell is the name of it? Into Standard Bearer is just wrong. I think, especially because you don't have Ancient Dens to cast it. I think if I had Ancient Dens to cast it, I would do it. So we're going to go with Tog here. Drew Ichor Wellspring, which is decent. My opponent's on a pretty slow draw. They might just have a few protection spells in their hands since they started on Island. I have to assume that if they go Forest here, they just drew it. My opponent could be thinking that I have Pyroblast up, so they might not cast Blighted Agent. They might cast like Blight Mamba or an Ichor Clomere, something of that sort. But we will see. Okay, they went Blight Mamba. Vault of Whispers. So I can cast Ichor Wellspring. I guess I should have cast that first. The thing is, do I want to cast Carapace Forger or Mirror Enforcer here? Or do I want to cast Mirror Enforcer and Thoughtcast? Yeah, I guess I want to cast these two, so that would be a reason why. So let's go ahead and attack. see what my opponent does. They will probably not block. I'd be very surprised if they did, because um, they don't have any green mana up. And then I suppose that if they could have mutagenic growth, and then I could sack an artifact to kill it. So I could sack like a Great Furnace, so that we would trade 2 for 2, and they would need a second mutagenic growth. And then I would just cast an Ichor Wellspring, and then my opponent doesn't have anything on the board, and then next turn I can cast Mirror Enforcer into Carapace Forger. Then depending, of course, if I draw a Sea the Synod or a Spring Leech, I can cast Thoughtcast as well. So we'll see. Opponent's taking quite a bit of time here. They might be double queuing, so, you know. Alright, so my opponent didn't block, as I assumed. They could have Hydroblast, though, which would be a pain in the tuchus. Alright, so let's go ahead and cast Mirror Enforcer. And cast Thoughtcast. The reason I'm doing this is because I don't think I can die, because my opponent only has one green source. So it's not like my opponent can go Groundswell, Distortion Strike, unless they played another forest there. But, oh wow, another island, okay. And a Nature's Claim. I'll just gain the 4 life. It's cool. Attack me for 1, okay. Well, now this is the problem with, blue-green infect, is sometimes you just draw not enough green sources and you can't cast enough green spells. That's just what happens. So do I win here? I don't think I need to play around Hydroblast. I guess I could. Be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see. So cast you. 1, 2 to cast Ichor Wellspring. I do actually win the game this turn if I want to go all in. I don't really need to, though, because I could just play around Hydroblast. Although he'd be the first person I've ever seen playing Hydroblast, but I guess it's, it's still better to play around it than to not. So I think the plan here is to cast Ichor Wellspring. Okay, let's just cast some stuff. So let's go. Okay, well, my opponent is F6ing, so we'll cast Disciple. And we'll cast 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My opponent goes to 13 and takes 13. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Unfortunate. Let's go ahead and attack. My opponent stopped F6ing. So let's go ahead and sack this. See if my opponent's F6'd. My opponent does seem to be F6, so I think I'm just going to go for it. Right? If I sack, they go to 13. That's plus another. Yeah, okay. And, it's just what happens. Yep. So, I think that this kind of showed a good showing of this deck. I pretty much won because of Disciple of the Vault every time. Well, hold on. Let me go back to the deck. So, I think that the main deck is pretty perfect. I don't think I'd change anything. I mean, of course, you could always change some things around with Affinity, of course. You could maybe not even play Carapace Forger. One thing you could do is play Auriok Sunchaser, and then it's easier to play the Standard Bearer, which would make mulligans a lot easier on this deck. So that is definitely something you could do. As far as the sideboard goes, I mean, of course, Affinity sideboard's always flexible to whatever you believe is what you should be playing. Again, I won two of my matches. I lost to Burn, getting unfortunately unlucky in Game 3, drawing 3 Mirror Enforcers when Mirror Enforcer was literally the only card that I couldn't use to help win the game. But that happens. Burn is also not a great matchup for Affinity. And then I lost to Gorilla Shaman twice. That just happens. Gorilla Shaman's just it's like Creeping Corrosion or Shatterstorm in, or even, what is the name of that enchantment? Stony Silence in, in Modern. Sometimes it just happens. There's nothing you can really do about it. So, would I recommend Affinity? Of course I would. I think it's a great deck. I think it's one of the best decks in Pauper. So, you want to play it? Definitely recommend it. You'll have a lot of fun. Let me know what you think you would do to my sideboard, or maybe even if any changes you would make in the main deck. And I'll see you next time. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a good one.